There's another Jurassic World coming out. I watched the trailer. I'll be honest with you. The past few Jurassic Worlds haven't really been interested in. They have not piqued my interest. However, this new one has got like a little twinge of interest. And I think in a big way, it's who's in it. It's the aesthetic, it's the setting. They're going back to the island. It's interesting to me, and there looks to be a lot of callbacks to the very first film, which again, every time an IP is struggling, they try to do less new stuff and try to do just a bunch of member berries. And this trailer for sure had a ton of member berries from the original Jurassic Park. Even some of the visuals, I believe, they have the aesthetic, right, of being prosthetic, of it being in camera animatronics, right? And so I took some screenshots of shots that I really enjoyed, and I wanted to just do a breakdown of kind of the cinematography in this film that we see from the trailer, get my mind around it, analyze it, and break it down for everyone watching. So I have a good bit to get through, but I wanted to start with a couple of these because this really fascinates me. First off, the color palette. They're on an island, so everything has a lot of blues, everything has a lot of greens, and then there's a lot of earthy brown colors. There's these vibrant greens where all the browns just kind of pop. There's a very strong color palette with the majority of shots from this trailer, but also the composition is very interesting. A lot of these are kind of like wider shots. They get close up, but everything feels wide. Nothing feels like a really narrow focal length from the shots in this trailer. So some of the interesting aspects of this was like when they first introduced, the scientists seeing a dinosaur with its long tail, right? It was interesting that they chose the way it's framing. And so they use the tail as kind of like this fun, almost framing, and in some ways kind of like a roundabout leading line a little bit, but it's very cool to see it on the backdrop and kind of in shadow against this really kind of bright, less contrasted background of the distant jungle. And then on this shot, it's very interesting because there's so many leading lines. When you go to create a very wide establishing shot like this, there are so many like turns and areas and spots where you can film from, and it really just comes down to what's the focus area and then how can we motivate that. So really the environment's kind of what we're focusing on, but the point is seeing the plane coming into the frame, arriving, right? It's coming in for a landing onto the water. So there's like a really beautiful guide of leading lines that kind of lead us to the center of the image to find its focus. And in the busyness of shots like this, I just think it's really well done just to pick like a corner of the dock, right? It kind of feel like we're creating shapes here. That's really nice to see, and it leads your attention right to where it's supposed to be. Also, with all of the commotion and movement that's all down here, they chose to make sure that the plane was angled in such a way that none of the movement was behind the plane. If you split the image in half, right, the only movement on this top of your image is the plane itself cutting through the environment. A couple more shots I wanted to look at was these, again, with the same brown, blue, and green color palette. It was very fascinating to me on the water because you have all of this blue water, right? And in the distance, you have these green kind of shadowy mountains, or I guess rock faces. And then you have this kind of blue tinted sky above. To break all that up in the focus area where we're supposed to be looking, it's revealing the environment, but the point of focus is the boat, and they chose to make the boat red. So it really pops. Like if you had a white boat, it could you'd still see it, but it wouldn't necessarily feel as strong, especially when the waves create this white foam, or the bright highlights off the water coming through here, or all the white that's in the sky mixed in with kind of the bluish tint. Making the boat itself red is a very strong color choice in this environment because it really gives it a pop. And I really enjoyed seeing that, especially when there's just a creative production choice that really is going to do well to pop out of the environment without making it feel too harsh. This shot was super fascinating to me because there's so much happening in this image. I mean, you have a character here in the foreground that's out of focus, and then you have this middle ground that has so much texture. There's so much going on. And then there's one area of focus. It's a little triangular window right here at the top of your frame. And the point of focus are these flying dinosaurs. Are they pterodactyls? Is that what they're called? Is it a pterodactyl? Either way, I thought it was really awesome because in all of the texture and all of the busyness of the environment, you get so much context and you get so much feel of jungle, but the point of focus that we're looking at, that the character's eyes are pointing at, is the pterodactyls, and they're on a backdrop that is not busy. And they chose to make just a little window where it is just kind of a flat sky, so they really popped. If obviously the background was this mountain and you just saw the pterodactyls flying, you know, through this area or whatever, then they wouldn't stand out as much on a textured background. So just a little window of a flat surface to put your focus point in. Very thoughtful cinematography, and I like the shapes. Getting into a little bit of the danger shots from the trailer. I really like this. It's a callback to the dangers of the velociraptors, which I feel like the last couple films has really nerfed the velociraptors in a major way. But I also really like that they did a shot that was very reminiscent of the kids hiding in the kitchen from the original Jurassic Park film, and that you got those big old claws just taking steps, and it's a really haunting shot, and it just creates, yes, the member berries, but also reminds you that a world or a island that's dominated by dinosaurs, by predatory giant lizards, is an extremely dangerous place to be. And they're reminding that of us with this shot, with how mysterious, how dark it is. They shot shadow side, or at least it's kind of top down shadow side a little bit, or at least it's kind of top down lighting. So you see all of the texture, all of the really creepy, skin creases that you see on the raptor's feet. You just have those little shiny pockets that reveal how sharp and dangerous looking those claws are. You can accomplish something like this with extremely minimal lighting if you have really good prosthetics. And I just thought it was really well done. Also, like the framing, it just is even more motivating. Look here. The focus is here. You don't have to use the whole frame. You add textures, you add pockets of light, but the focus is here, and it really motivates that section to look at. And I don't know about you all, but when I saw this shot, I was like, is that an animatronic T-Rex? Because the way this looks in the trailer reminds me of the T-Rex from the original Jurassic Park. Like, it could just be good animation that's like replicating a style and a look, and maybe that's the case, but this really gives me a feel for animatronic by just like eyeballing it. Let me know. I have no idea if they used animatronics in this film like they did with the original, but it would make sense if they're trying to call back that nostalgia a little bit with this film. But I just thought this is a really good use of depth. You obviously have your foreground, you have your middle ground, which is the area of focus, this very dangerous looking T-Rex with his mouth wide open. And it's obvious that everyone's gonna use this shot for the thumbnail because it communicates so much of that classic Jurassic Park look. So even in marketing, like this shot with its mouth wide open, almost like it reminds me of an alligator that's got its mouth open waiting for a prey to crawl in, thinking it's found a new cave home. And then you have this really nice green and blue background that it stands against. So with that color contrast of the background and then the brownish color of the dinosaur, it really makes the dinosaur pop off the background. But this is just a really good use of creating depth in your image with a foreground, a middle ground, and background, instead of just having like two areas, with middle ground being in focus. So that's all I got. I hope that was fun diving into some of the cinematography choices of the new trailer for Jurassic World. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if anything stood out to you. And thank you for subscribing to the channel so you see more videos like this.